We are back. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Happy Sunday on the Writer's Adventure. For those of you who are just joining us, this is day 3 of a writer's boot camp called the Engine Room, where people are writing their heart of their book or their keynote or their song, and we're exploring all the things about an engine room chapter and what that means. And we're just finishing up. We've had writing prompts for the last 2 days. We've talked about theme. We've talked about inspiration. We opened on a writing prompt that evokes a yearning that you want to write into. That the writing prompts also give you what we call clues or gateways, like of details that are meant to then help you drive the next piece of action. The theme and the impact is where you're going. And now we're about to get into the middle part, because as we close our day of writing today, we want to make sure that you have something to do when you're not with us. We want you to work on this engine room piece so that you are nourished and can keep coming back to the page, and that you have that example chapter that you can measure all of your other chapters next to. And so I'm just going to hand over to Meribeth to talk a little bit about slow writing and obstacles and where you want to go, Meribeth.
Oh, where to start? Where to start? Well, Tina and I were just having this interesting conversation, and I was like, yeah, I think that kind of plays into the obstacles conversation. And in a nutshell, I was thinking about some of my own work that I'm doing right now, and thinking about how every character has his or her own mission, their own thing that they're trying to achieve, which is just one of those things where if you can figure out what that is, or even temporarily figure out what that is, figure out what the obstacle is, then it actually helps flesh out your character a lot more. Now that's fiction, but nonfiction, it kind of works the same.
Mm-hmm.
We're always writing about people doing things. That's
Mm-hmm.
what a story is. Tina, you keep freezing on me. It's throwing me off a bit.
Yeah. Well, maybe we're having a little bit of Wi-Fi, but that's all right. It'll catch up. So let's.
And
Mhm.
and in this little worksheet I pulled together for you guys last night, we go into the place that Tina and I love to harp on so much about, and that's the conflict piece.
Yeah.
Do you want to jump
Yeah.
in here, Tina?
Yeah, totally. So in the last video from this morning, we talked about the importance of writing something people want to read, and what makes them turn the page, what makes them want to follow the journey you're on, or even if it's a song or a piece of art that you are painting, there has to be something transformative, as Marybeth talked about, the friction that makes us want to stay with you. And those pieces are the things that grow us. Those are the obstacles. It's the thing that you want. So there's an author's want, right? Or the writer's want. I want to give the world hope. I want to give the world peace. I want everyone to wake up and like each other, whatever it is, right? Remember the writing prompts we did in the beginning? If I could just say this, or if they just knew this, right? That's that yearning, right? And so you've got the writer's want, but then you actually have the voice of what you are writing that through. So if it's a song, it's the singer, it's the narrator, if you will. If it's in your book, it's one of the characters. And so knowing
Or
what.
in your nonfiction book, you're still telling the story of people or things doing things all the time. Even if it's a tree, it's growing, it's sending its roots out with its mycelium and communicating with other trees, who knows, whatever things are happening. And whatever things are happening, things are going to get in the way, and there's some desire for movement.
So from a writing perspective, it's clarifying what you want. So what if it's the tree? If we're talking about tree, what does the tree want? The tree wants to grow, right? So know what you want, because when you know what you want, then you can go, okay, what's in the way? What's in the way of that want? What is it? Then we go back to the list that Meribeth has for you today. There's 6 basic conflicts that person versus person, person versus self, person versus society, person versus nature. You can make them up, but it's person versus something. Something's in the way.
And you know what? You don't have to name yours. That's just kind of like a fun way of sort of noticing your own story, other people's stories, something to keep in mind.
Yeah. So if you know what you want, I want I want to get to the other side of I want to get to the other end of this room, but I can't because I can't get out of bed. I'm grief stricken. I am person versus grief. So the invitation is to figure out in this engine room, what do you want? If you look at Coraline, what does she want? I want to play with my mom. What's in my way? My mom's a freaking workaholic, right? Jaws. I want to connect with my son. What's in the way? I don't want to talk. I can't even talk about it. So what do? They have that beautiful moment with the hands, right? Think about A Few Good Men. What do I want? Well, I want the truth. I want to know the truth. I'm Tom Cruise in this one. I want to tell the truth. What does the general want? I want to hold on to my dignity.
Yeah.
And then it changes, right? I want to make you wrong. What I want now, I want to make you wrong, Tom Cruise. I want to show you up, which of
Mhm.
course. So there's 3 parts. There's a want, there's an obstacle, and then the want either changes or the story changes because the truth is told. That's transformation.
Yeah.
And so, Mary Beth, let's go into a little bit of how you talked a little bit about slow writing and putting flesh on the bones.
Mm.
Because it's a really interesting process, right? Like there's the linear process, like I just said. You want this, this is in the way, what happens? But then you got to write the flesh in those places.
Well, I think it's like we were saying this morning, it's taking those things that still resonate, like blah 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 blah. I wrote this. Oh, this is garbage. But maybe there's this one piece. Why is that important?
Mm.
Where does this fit in this other writing I've been doing? I mean, it's the puzzle, right? You've got a giant puzzle in front of you, and your fast writing might actually slam a few pieces together. And then you might have this sense of like, oh, this goes in this red corner up here, red and yellow up here. This is the piece I've been looking for. And I
Um,
didn't even know I was looking for it.
I
Using the
love that.
fast writing to answer the questions and the struggles that occur in your slow writing.
Use the fast writing to answer the struggles and questions that happen in your slow writing. Love that.
And keep going back to your fast writing to look for the answers when the struggles come up too. Don't just throw it
Yeah.
in the garbage. There's a place
Yeah.
for it.
There was this moment that happened in our last writers retreat on Salt Spring Island where Christina Benty said we were talking about what is the climax of a scene, right? And she said she said it's the moment when all of the puzzle pieces that you have on the table, when they turn over and you see where they click.
Mm.
It's like, yeah. And so while this weekend we are focusing on the engine room, which again is the heartbeat, and we want you to get traction, get something done that you feel good about. What we don't want you to do is be a good student and do all the right things to get it done. What we want for you is all the puzzle pieces. We want you to write into all the puzzle pieces so they're laying on the table. So when your engine room comes together, you've got, like Mary Beth said, all the red pieces. You've done all that writing.
And so if you're just feeling a bit of at a bit of a loss as to like, okay, what now? Where am I going? You can also just ask yourself, where am I trying to get to here? Where is the character trying to get to? What is the need
Mhm.
that is so strong that I will face a great white shark with 7 rows of teeth? Jaws
Yeah.
is the perfect metaphor for any obstacle.
Yeah.
Because no story happens unless someone is willing to face some version of that. And there's got to be a strong want there. Strong want, strong need, strong belief.
Let's talk a little bit about a nonfiction book. Let's look at, if you're writing. So for me, if I'm writing the core story book, right? Story from the core. What I want is I want people to understand that they have a core, that there is a core, and that they can write from that core. They can live from that core. Their whole life's journey can come from that place. So my book will have some tools, right, on how to do that. So the tools end up being the reaction to the obstacle, right? So my obstacle would be, one, people don't even know what the frickin' core is, or that there is one, right? So I need to, in my book, I need to write pieces that identify what the core is and identify how to work with that.
Hold on.
Meribeth has got a story happening behind her. And so I offer that to you because I think sometimes in self-help books, we think there isn't a conflict. We think there isn't an obstacle. The very obstacle is what brought you to the book in the first place. The very obstacle is the frickin' problem that your tools deal with.
And there's the big picture problem, and then the little problems that you nail along the way.
Yeah. So every chapter in a self-help book, if you will, or a tools-based book, builds on the last tool and amps up the breakdown of the big problem, whatever that is, right? And if you're writing a poem, there might be a character in the poem that wants something. There might be the voice of the narrator that has a yearning. Go back to the yearning work that we did on the first night. And, in a poem, often the conflict is person versus self, often, because it's some sort of internal thing that they're working through. Like Meribeth's conflict right now is, right?
I can't get away from my kids.
Right? And that in itself is a story. Like, what's going on right here? You could write a little
My
paragraph.
book on motherhood about how you can't get away from them. You just want them to survive, but at the same time, you want to escape.
Okay, what do you want? I want to survive and I want to escape. You have two super rich wants. And what's the conflict is you want them both at the same time.
Yeah. You want to be like the best mom ever, but you need to get away from them at the same time. How is that possible?
Yeah.
How do I get to the other side of this one?
So what I want to give you now, because I think we've given you really great conceptual things. We've got a great handout for you today, but I just want to read something to you that Meribeth and I put together for our 28-day first draft program that we have. And it's on day 15, and we call it the "And Then This Happened" handout. And we'll give this to you. In brief, your entire story follows kind of this structure. And I want you to just get it in super simplicity, because whatever you're writing, trust me, it's not that hard. Okay, so your story goes like this. Someone is somewhere. Something happens to make someone want to go somewhere else. There's a debate about whether or not that should happen. Then there's a decision to go. End of Act 1. Act 2. They depart into the unknown, right? They've decided to go, right? So now they're leaving into a new land or a new thing. Then they meet someone or they learn something along the way. And they discover things about themselves or the world that they didn't know. This whole second section of your piece is the journey, which goes from yay, yuck, yay, yuck, yay, I got it. I got what I wanted. Oh, I didn't get what I wanted. I really didn't get what I wanted. Oh, I think I should just give up. And this whole yay, yuck thing repeats in Act 2 until they have to decide whether or not they want to keep going because the yuck is just that bad, right? Then we move into Act 3. something happens which breaks it open. And the pieces click together. That's that Christina Benty thing where the puzzle pieces now turn over and they are changed and something's different about them. Then they reflect, and that's the end of the story. So I wanted to give you the whole thing because your engine room is going to be in one of those sections. Your job is just to figure out what have you got here and where does it fit in that journey and write that scene. Write that scene. Or
Just
if you're
one
doing,
scene. And
yeah, yeah. And if you're writing a self-help book, it might not look like that, but it's exactly the same thing. Someone, your reader, is somewhere in their life and they know something's not working, problem, and they need to go do something else. And they decide they're going to do it. End of Act 1. Act 2, here's all the something else's. Here's all the tools that we're going to be trying.
or here's all the things that you didn't know about this problem.
Yeah. And then end of Act 2 in a self-help book is like, oh my God, there's so many tools here. What do I do now? It's a little bit overwhelming. What do I do? Boom. Act 3, here's the first simple thing that we want you to start with. Here's why. Here's what it looks like. End a book, right? Few tools to go with. So as we close day 3 of the Engine Room Bootcamp, it's about you having some time to put the flesh on the bones, to make some choices about what this engine room is, to deal with the problems that are meaning that makes me want to listen to your story in the first place. Don't be afraid to write into them and stay connected to that impact. Is there anything on the handout, Meribeth, that you just want to take a look at and make sure we prepare people for?
Holding this thing up. Let's see. I think I just. Well, let's just quickly go into this. Your medicine and your poison, because I think that for me, when I wrote that up, I thought that was a really good jumping off point to
Yeah.
flesh out the sides of the conflict and why you're going forward. So I just listed a series of questions that I think you can use just to do some of that fast writing.
Mm-hmm.
Ranting, if you will, even where you pour out your hopes and pour out your fears, and you'll get some of that material that can answer some of your slow writing questions. So.
Awesome.
What
So
do I
another
believe?
way to
How will things change? So this is like why you want to move forward. What do I believe? How will things change? Why should the world care? What is the fundamental or universal need being fulfilled? What are my doubts? What are my fears? Why not? What do I have to lose? Those are some of the obstacle type questions. So
that's awesome.
why overcome the obstacle?
If you look at the 3 examples of engine rooms that we've given you, right? What are they fighting for and what do they have to lose? If you don't know what you have to lose, you don't have any stakes.
And it's not very interesting.
Yeah. Like what's at risk? What's at risk if your reader doesn't get moved by this song you're writing?
Yeah.
What are they missing out on if they don't hear this song? What's going to happen to the people if they don't read this engine room chapter? What's going to happen to you if you don't? Dig into that, and not to be fear-based and all that stuff, but to actually have like skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't get transformation from comfort.
Yeah.
You get transformation from safety, which is not comfort. We don't transform in terrified places. We need to feel held, which is why you're doing such a good job of writing all the pieces for your reader. You can take them out into a risky place because you've got them, as Meribeth would say, you're holding their hand. But they're not going to get transformation if you don't take them out onto some skinny branches. Got a risk. What's at risk for you?
What's at risk for you? What's at risk for your characters? What's at risk for the reader?
Yeah.
Open that door.
Yeah. That's it. That's all we got. If we say anything else, we're like, we'll miss it. That's it. That's
That's
it.
it. Okay.
So
Awesome.
let's close this up so people know how to reach us. Many of you are in the Writer's Adventure private Facebook group. If you're not, I'll make sure the link is here. Join us in there because you may want to talk to us about your writing from this weekend, and we will talk to you in there. Please inquire with us if you'd like to come on the Writer's Adventure with us. We have room for a cohort of 30 for 14 months. What this looks like, just so you know, in the Writer's Adventure, you have a weekly ongoing writing group on Tuesday nights. We will be there, obviously. You will also get writing prompts each week. You will have an in-depth writer's boot camp that is specific to the fundamental pieces of writing your book or writing your screenplay, writing your big body of work. Plus, in a year, there are 2 immersive writing retreats that max out at 10 people. So you get us. That's where Meribeth and I are there in person, and we spend time coaching you. We do obviously some training and all that stuff, but most of it is your writing and working one-on-one with us. The cost on that is $675 a month. And you also have access to an ongoing yoga practice with Dory Howard from Enso. So let us know.
And let's remember also that the whole point of this is to really get it done.
Yeah.
Wherever you are in your process, it's about getting to a place where you're a lot closer to completion and holding the accountability because this matters to you.
Yeah. Legacy. I think we said this before. When we're dead, are our grandchildren looking up our digital prints of who we are? No. They're looking for our book. That's what they're looking for.
And our story.
And our story. Like, think about the books you have on your shelf right now. I'm not searching for some editorial piece, from a newspaper that came out 50 years ago. I'm looking at a book. So if you got a book in you, let's get it done. Let's get it published. Let's leave that legacy. All right. So connect with us in the Facebook group. Know that we believe in you. We want you to have a life of writing, and we want your legacy and your story to be out there. And we want you to have a book that's public ready, not just something that your mom's going to read, although that's good too. But we really hold you to the place where you've done the work and you can let it go when it comes time to release it out to the public. Okay.
All right.
Happy writing, everybody.
That's all for now.
They're so brave. I think they're so brave. Okay, just want to send you love. Okay, that's all for now. I'm blathering. I say goodbye 3 times. I'm bad that way. Love you. Bye.